Steve Richards, The Prime Ministers, Reflections on Leadership from Wilson to Johnson. Delve into the world of British Prime Ministers as Steve Richards takes you on a journey through the leadership styles and impact of Wilson, Thatcher, Blair, Brown, Cameron, and Johnson. This captivating book summary discusses the qualities and weaknesses of these leaders, emphasizing the importance of effective communication, response to media narratives, and the ability to unite divided parties. You'll also discover the unfair characterizations attributed to some of these leaders and what it takes to survive in the high-stakes world of British politics.
Qualities of a successful British Prime Minister. Success as Britain's Prime Minister relies on a unique balance of communication, media savviness, and diplomacy. Although superhuman luck and mood-sensing abilities may play a role, the most enduring traits of effective leaders include excellent communication skills, responsiveness to shifting media narratives, and the ability to unite a diverse party. Those lacking these qualities, such as Gordon Brown, may falter, while ruthless communicators like Margaret Thatcher can excel even when pursuing unpopular policies. Ultimately, success or failure may come down to fickle public opinion. The misrepresentation of British Prime Ministers. British Prime Ministers are often pigeonholed by the media and the public, resulting in unfair and simplistic portrayals. Left-wing Prime Ministers, in particular, are often misrepresented due to the dominant right-wing agenda of the UK media. Harold Wilson and John Major, for example, were depicted as drab and weak respectively, despite their achievements. However, the truth is much more nuanced, and the complexities of high office require a wider array of attributes. The media's portrayal of prime ministers often sticks in the public consciousness, but incidents such as Wilson's egg-throwing incident reveal that they are not simple caricatures. Wilson's political maneuvers. Harold Wilson, a successful Labour leader, won 3 consecutive elections through masterful political maneuvering. In the 1975 referendum on Britain's relationship with Europe, he allowed his party members to campaign for or against the common market, thus holding his fractured party together. During the campaign, Wilson made himself invisible to avoid being used as a protest vote against the party. Wilson also dealt with labor union disputes cleverly, declaring that industry-specific pay raises could be negotiated but enforcing tough guidelines if they exceeded reasonable limits. Through these tactics, Wilson survived the bear pit of British politics. Thatcher, the Disruptor. Margaret Thatcher rose to power in the late 1970s and radically transformed British politics. Her policies, centered around deregulation, low taxation, and low public spending, overthrew the status quo. Traditional industries were wiped out, and the country moved towards a free market economy. Her influence was lasting, and she marked a sea change in British politics. As the 1970s drew to a close, a decade of strike action and high inflation, Margaret Thatcher moved into view. She became the figure that would change everything. Thatcher overthrew the old Conservative Party establishment, actively pushing a radical agenda that represented a shift in the party's political configuration. She made a name for herself as a tax-cutting, free-market candidate of the radical right. This was a significant change from the one-nation conservatism that was previously popular within the party. When Thatcher won the leadership contest against Ted Heath, he was heard saying, "It has all gone wrong, then." Shortly after her win, in 1979, Thatcher's economic agenda represented a significant overthrow of the status quo. She sold her radical reforms as an antidote to the chaos of the 1970s. Her policies centered around deregulation, low taxation, and low public spending. The result meant businesses were benefiting from tax reduction, but traditional manufacturing industries were wiped out. Welsh mining towns and Scottish shipyards suffered, and many working-class people suffered from the erosion of the welfare state. Thatcher marked a sea change in British politics during her time in office. Her lasting influence is symbolized in her response to a question about her greatest achievement. She famously replied, "Tony Blair," indicating that her ideas had transformed even the Labour Party. Thatcher's policies centered around deregulation, low taxation, and low public spending, overthrew the status quo, and marked a sea change in British politics. The moderate comeback. Margaret Thatcher was dethroned by her own party members in 1990, and her successor, John Major, brought a softer kind of Toryism back to the United Kingdom. As the leader, Major aimed to steer the party towards a more moderate approach, contrary to Thatcher's right-wing leadership. He abolished the poll tax in favor of a more equitable taxation system. Furthermore, he defended state-funded broadcaster BBC, which was widely criticized by the political right, and attempted to repair the public services that Thatcher had eroded through her cuts. However, the issue of European integration soured Major's term, as he faced disagreements with his party members. Tory hardliners launched rebellions in Parliament, and the UK's divisions became apparent to the electorate, ultimately leading to their electoral defeat in 1997. Despite his efforts to bring back moderate Toryism, the issue of Europe proved to be Major's downfall. The triumph of Blair's campaign strategy. In 1997, Tony Blair led the Labour Party to an overwhelming victory by bomb-proofing their policies and campaign messaging. Studying every mistake of past campaigns against Thatcher, Blair and his ally, Peter Mandelson, made sure that the Labour manifesto wouldn't scare off potential voters with too left-wing ideas. Blair also made himself approachable and courted the media. After winning the election, Blair governed much as he had campaigned, implementing progressive policies that improved working people's lives while keeping the main parts of Thatcherism intact. Through clever triangulation, Tony Blair had gotten Labour elected and cemented their place in government, something that had seemed impossible for nearly 2 decades. Cameron's gamble. In 2005, the Conservative Party chose a new leader, David Cameron, who was seen as a fresh face with little experience of high office. When Cameron was elected as Prime Minister in 2010, he faced complex problems, particularly the European question. Under pressure from Eurosceptic factions, Cameron called a referendum in 2016 to settle the issue of Brexit but assumed that the Remain side would win easily. However, the shock leave result came through, and Cameron resigned abruptly. The verdict on his period in office is often severe, with criticism of him gambling with the country's economic future for his own political self-interest. Theresa May's political gamble. In the aftermath of Brexit, Theresa May quickly rose to become the leader of the Conservative Party and the Prime Minister of a divided United Kingdom. May promised to solve the social injustices that spurred the Leave campaign's victory, but her political gamble failed spectacularly. She called for a snap general election in 2017 to strengthen her position, but her campaign was marred by missteps such as the dementia tax policy and her support for fox hunting. Despite facing a left-wing opponent in the Labour Party's Jeremy Corbyn, May was expected to win a large majority, but the result was a hung parliament. May pursued a Brexit strategy that did not reflect the views of other parties in Parliament and negotiated a deal that was defeated multiple times. Her authority crumbled, and she faced a no-confidence vote by her own party. Suffering heavy losses in local and European elections in 2019, May resigned, defeated by the same issue that had caused the downfall of her predecessors.
The Prime Ministers. Reflections on Leadership from Wilson to Johnson provides an in-depth insight into the world of British politics, and the leaders who have shaped it. From the triumphs of Harold Wilson and Margaret Thatcher to the challenges faced by leaders like Gordon Brown and Theresa May, this book illustrates not only the core qualities needed to be an effective leader but also the impact these leaders have had on the country. It highlights the role of the British media in shaping public opinion, and the importance of understanding the intricacies of political maneuvering for a successful leadership experience. As the book explores the legacies of these British prime ministers, it leaves us with an understanding of the ever-shifting political landscape and the importance of adaptability and resilience in leadership.